You're not overwhelmed. You're overcommitted to illusions. Hey guys, it's John here in the studio drinking my fabulous mug of coffee. Often people will tell me they're overwhelmed, but being overwhelmed isn't a time issue. It's a truth issue. Nothing can overwhelm us without our permission. The concept of being overwhelmed means I am choosing to be in a state where I can't see a way out, or I am overworked, or I have too many things on my plate. It is an emotional choice. You get to choose how to live into that moment. I often tell people that are struggling in life that struggle is a subjective choice. But when you look at that subjective choice, it's an interesting experience because your experiences of life are your choices. I use the analogy of two guys going into the gym on leg day. And the first guy walks into the gym saying how much he hates leg day. I hate leg day. This is terrible. And he goes over to the squat rack and he gets a ton of weight up on the bars and he starts to, I hate this. Oh my God, my legs hurt so bad. And he just cusses and screams how much he hates leg day the whole time. At the end, he puts down the last weight and he goes to leave the gym and he's walking out. I said, God, my legs hurt. So how am I going to make it home? And he's just complaining the whole time. Next guy walks into the gym and he says, man, my legs are growing today. And he walks over to the squat rack. He does the same sets and reps. He does everything that the other guy did and probably more because he got a better attitude about it. And he finishes, he says, feel my legs growing. And he said, yeah, those weights are heavy, but man, my legs are growing. He walks out of the gym going, man, this is kind of fun. My legs are having a tough time moving, but that's because I am growing. My legs are growing. He walks out with a positive attitude. They came into the gym. They lifted the same weights, the same reps. They had the same experience of moving weight from lower to higher, right? And yet one of them had a subjective experience of being overwhelmed and hating it, and the other one had an experience of being joyful and knowing he's growing. That's the thing. Overwhelmed just means that you're afraid and you're having a bad leg day because you're choosing to have a bad leg day. It's not a time issue. It's a truth issue. What are you choosing to be true? Yeah, I got a lot of stuff to do, but I'm doing it well. I'm putting this beautiful thing. I'm tackling them one thing at a time. I'm writing my list of things I need to do, and I'm just starting at the top, and I'm checking them off as I go. Oh my God, look how big my list is. It's terrible. I'm overwhelmed by all these things. How am I ever going to get these done? No one's ever going to help me. Blah, 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 blah. That's overwhelm. That's the fear of all the work you have to do rather than just knocking it out. There's a overwhelming epidemic of being overwhelmed. We wear busy like a badge. Look how busy I am. I'm doing so much great things. I'm putting all these things out. I have so much I'm doing. But most of what you're busy with isn't even real. You're not doing too much. You're believing it too much. You're believing it is too much. You're deciding that it's too much. Well, if it's too much for you, then say, okay, I'm working on something smaller and I'm working up to it, right? There's these concepts of false commitments too. We often will lay a bunch of stuff on our shoulders because we feel that if we're the person who gets things done for somebody else, we're going to get their validation. Do the things you can do. And when you can't do them, be honest with yourself and others and say, listen, I need help with this because I have too much on my plate right now. Bam. And now a quick word from our sponsor. Coffee Time with John. This channel runs off coffee, so get your coffee and tea at johnsjoe.com. People feel obligated because of the chosen identity of the guy who gets it done for people. And you know what that does? That tears apart people because now they're constantly trying to be the guy who gets it done. And people say, hey, he's the guy who gets it done. Let's just throw it on his plate. You're creating a situation to be overwhelmed. You can't be the perfect parent or the self-sacrificing partner, or the spiritual good person. None of these are true presence. They're all driven by fear and guilt or threat assessment. So it comes down to understanding that when you're trying to be the good person, or you're giving up who you are to satisfy a partner, which is very much the nature of an empathic person. They give themselves up to please someone else, and usually that means they're going to draw a narcissist into their life, because that means they're a giver and the person they're bringing in is a taker. And it's the perfect marriage made in hell. So it comes down to this idea of understanding that don't be the self-sacrificing partner. Stand up for who you are. Do the things you love and be the person you want to be. You are already a good person if you choose in the moment to be the good person. That's how you do it. You come back to being present. Those are, as I said, are all driven by fear and guilt and threat assessment. But the idea of returning to the simplicity of who you really are, coming back to the simple nature of this is who I am, and I don't have to change to fit your validation. I don't have to be afraid of something coming in my future, because I'm creating my future. In your present moment, if you're having a breakdown, it's because you're not in your present moment, because you're focused on something that may go wrong in the future. It's like mental time travel. You're trying to be in the future, but you can never leave the present. The future's coming to you. You're not getting to it. Before you make any decision, before you have all these things pile on top of you, just simply take a breath, exhale, come back to this place and ask yourself, am I choosing to be stressed and overwhelmed in this moment? Or am I choosing to love myself enough to say, okay, I'm just going to work and it's going to be fine. This is just information. Start to detox your life gently. What commitments did you say yes to from guilt? And look at it and go, I need to do this because I'm responsible for that, blah, blah, blah. Are you really? Or is someone just laying something on your shoulders that they should have been taken care of? When someone says, do this for me, no can be a complete sentence, or silence can do the heavy lifting. You don't owe anyone an explanation for anything. They say this, no, that's just the way it is. The other day, my son was talking about a flag, and he says, can we put this up in front of our house? And it had a political meaning to it. And I told him absolutely not. And it was very interesting, because the way I said it, I just said no. And he eventually got up and left the room. But he understood my no was complete. There was no argument. There was no discussion about it. No. And he just got up and left. Because I'm not going to put political things on in front of my house. The idea of that. So that's me choosing in my moment to realize that I get to choose. Remove one obligation from your list this week. Remove the one that isn't in line with your own personal peace, your own personal life of joy. Remove the one that really, truly should have been done by somebody else. Or remove the one that has you doing it alone, and choose to do it with someone. Look at your list. If you feel overwhelmed, it's because right now you're feeling overwhelmed, and you can choose to say, okay, I'm no longer feeling overwhelmed. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to either just joyfully do this work, all this work, or I'm going to look at it from the idea that you need to do this instead of me. You don't need their validation. You don't need them to love you because you've taken something off their shoulders. You don't need to clear your calendar. You need to clear your mind. Simplicity isn't laziness, it's power. You live into the I am doing this, and you live into that experience. That's a huge power. If someone is dumping something on you, it's because they are trying to get rid of something that makes them feel powerless. If you're good at what you do and you stay in your lane and you create this experience, that's pretty simple and pretty easy. And when things get so big, you start to realize this is not possible. You hand it off, let it go. Take today and live fully committed to only what's real for you. Live into love, rest, stay present and fearless. And when someone comes along that tries to throw you into a state of overwhelmed, realize that state of overwhelmed itself is just fear and anxiety, and those are choices. And you can release the fears and the anxieties and live love in the full presence. And that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.